Hi everyone. Just a kind of almost an after party, because when it comes to something like this, I get excited. I like to tear into a box like a kid on Christmas. But I kind of half stopped and said, hey, wait a second, why don't I share this? Uh, Basically, blown at least 2 months of my self-imposed monthly budget. Um, because I finally decided I really need something that will allow me to change the tool head with minimal effort. Yeah? So I got myself the Bigtreetech Hermit Crab. This is only the version 1. As you can see, it's already partially open. This is the canbus version. Obviously, I can go into some explanation about the standard edition at another point, but here we go. Trying to keep it straightforward and to the point of this video. So, here we have the first two items, which are the toolhead boards. This is what you would put your extruder and hot end. You could even add also your preference, I should say, of bed leveling sensor and a number of other items, obviously. And this is where it connects to the main body. And then, of course, here is, yeah, that one's for your bed level sensor. That one appears to be K1, K2. I believe that has to do with additional fans, if I remember correctly. I'd have to look into that, because there's also fan ports here. So hot end fan is probably here. So this is probably for additional cooling fans, stepper motor, and of course the latch that holds it to the main body. Let's go into here. I already know what's in some of these because I had started digging into it already. So stepper motor wires, and that'll be for an end stop, you know. So that if you're using that for your X-axis end stop, assuming you're not using sensorless homing and sensorless end stop, that'll be what that's for. So let's just move some of this out of the way. Let's just put this over a little bit more, and we'll start decanting this over to here. So here's our user guide, which we'll put here in that regard. Yeah, that looks all right. Okay, so there's our wires. Let's get into here. Okay, that is our main body and a third tool head board. Pretty straightforward. CAN bus, USB for flashing, a couple of buttons for boot and reset, which I'll be using Catapult with my Clipper installation, so that future updates to this MCU will be pretty easy, and I won't have to take everything apart to get at USB ports and that. Don't know if that can be seen, but yeah, there we go. That is where the little chip is. That's an STM32 processor. I won't go into great detail, because all of the information about the technical specs is available on GitHub, as well as a copy of the manual. And I don't want to drag out things too far if I don't have to for you. This is our release latch. So there you go. This is that simple. Your tool head would then come off. You replace it with one of the others. There's your main body, and I can see that this is probably where they have the stepper driver, because they have a thermal pad against it, completely enveloping it, heat sinking against the main body. That's quite good. That's very nice thinking on that. It means you don't need any additional. Now, maybe for those that, you know, run enclosures, for example, maybe a small heat sink on top of that, maybe just a copper plate type heatsink, or a very low profile one, because as you'll see here, there is a very tight amount of space, but there's enough room in there even for a low profile heatsink for that MCU. So if you are concerned that you might get thermal issues, that would be a good place to put it. All your connections for hot end, I noticed that they have CNCF plus and minus. That'll be if you're running this with a CNC tool head. If you've put this maybe on a machine that has multiple capabilities, so printing, CNC cutter, laser engraver, that could be used for that. So that is a quite nice finding. And then all of your signals, as you can see, in traditional Bigtreetech method, they tell you every single pin what it's called, so that you can reference it even if you don't want to go and look back. Extra little LED, most likely for status, and so forth. And then I see another connector back here, which I'd have to look up because I can't quite read it with this lighting, but I'm not going to go into that. Again, it's all on GitHub, as well as the manual. Yes, I have already had a small thumb through the manual. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and stabilize my little pseudo table. Let's go ahead and get this out of here. They always put these so tight. Alright, let's try getting it this way then first. Ah, that's better. Okay, so there's our tool heads. There's our main body. Okay, we have 3 more boxes, it looks. So let's see what's in here. As you can tell, I've already unwrapped them. This is for an Ender style printer. So if you have an Ender 3, probably perfect. This would actually fit my little printer that I have off to the side that you can see the display on. And this is where the main body would attach to, through a method that's in the manual. And you can terminate the belts here. So if you have an Ender 5, maybe for example, you can terminate them here. Potentially even the Ender 6, because it also still uses V-slot. So there's that. Or if you have the belts going underneath the other direction, then you're still good, because you can terminate them at the back. Now, you say, oh, well, what if I have a linear rail? Hey, they thought of that too. And I'll just demonstrate that real quick. This is one for if you are mounting this with a linear rail, because they have belt termination teeth here for part of your mounting. So your existing mount will probably assist with that, with the other half that would work with that. That goes there. So if you have a switch wire, or if you have an Ender series, or basically Cartesian XZ style printer where the head has the belts pulling like this, but you're on a linear rail obviously mounts to here, and if your belts require to be terminated that way, then you're still laughing, because they already have a mount. Yeah. So that's really versatile even as it is. So this brings you into Ender 3, Ender 5, probably Ender 6 as well. Ender 7 is a Core XY, but I'd have to look at it again because I can't remember off the top of my head what they used on the gantry for that. But I believe that the Ender 5 S1 may even benefit from this. But again, being that this is a canbus edition, you would need to think about Clipper in that regard. I am going to explore my options also with the Raspberry Pi aspect, because in this lovely box, which is where I got to when I stopped and said, hey, wait a second, why aren't you doing a video? So in here we have a Raspberry Pi can hat. This is to give you the ability to a Raspberry Pi, like a 3B Plus or a 3B, or even a Pi Zero, to give it the ability of CAN bus. So that's your CAN connector, as you can maybe see there. This is, let's see if I can get that in there. Yeah, this shows the signals that it's using predominantly for that, and then your Raspberry Pi GPIOs. Most of the pins down here are mainly used for other things, including those pins down here, which is your 5-volt powers, which most likely, if I sat there and traced them out, probably powers these chips that do the job. Yeah, so that's very useful, and it's about the same size as an RPI 0. So you could even use an RPI 02W, obviously for a CAN bus Clipper controller, which might be interesting in itself. So let's go ahead and get that back in its static bag, keep it protected. We'll just put that up there. Okay, so here we have a CAN tool board. So that's going to be interesting. Let's go ahead and get that open. Just put the riffraff over there. Okay, this is most likely going to go to your various items. I'm going to have to read the manual for this, but this gives us can in, can out, 24 volt power, and it looks like here you could actually set up T0, T1, T2, T3. You could actually manually set up 3 tool heads. Yeah, maybe all the same kind. For example, if you wanted 3 colors, you know, if you didn't mind manually changing the tool head, then that would actually work. Or, you know, as said, you can have one for a laser, one for a CNC, one for 3D printing, and it'll all work. And it looks like they're all fused. That's nice for that regard. Be interesting to see the pinouts for those. Let's see what they have here on the back. Anything? Yep, can tool board, but it doesn't tell me what that jumper is, so I'm going to be curious about that. I'll have to read the manual for that, or look at, you know, knowing me, I'll use the one on GitHub, because sometimes I prefer going through a PDF than trying to get my old eyes to read the small print in those packets. But yeah, it's nice that they do that. So there's some very useful items right there for your canvas needs. So I suspect this is where we're going to find the remaining cables in that regard. So let's have a look in here. Yep, I was right. This is cables. Oh, there's one more in there that just does not want to come out. There we go. And when in doubt, give it a smack. Drop one. There we go. Okay, so here we have, let's just move this out of the way. There we go. So here we have additional, and there I am dropping stuff. Sorry for looking at my sickly head. That's power. So that'll be coming from your power supplies up to the appropriates, you know, in that regard. That'll be useful. This looks like to be additional steppers and end stop, so that's useful. That looks like it'll be for the motor. There's our USB-C style that they will likely use for CAN bus going to the actual tool head. Okay, these are for those on that tool board where it goes from your CAN bus adapter on your RPI to that. So I'm going to need to look into that, because that's going to be interesting as to whether or not you actually need that board in every implementation. I think if anything, it's going to be for passing power to the board. But, you know, obviously, you know, like your 24 volt for the heater cartridge as an example. And that's clearly your high current ones that'll handle that. Okay. Definitely a lot of reading for me to do on this, because it seems to be quite versatile. Nice little toolkit. Looks like they have a nice little set of tweezers, some mounting bolts, a little flat blade, and your appropriate screws. What is that? That looks like some additional tape of some kind. So, oh no, okay, I see it. This is for tidying up your wires, you know, that you're doing. It's just like it looks like an adhesive tape. And then here's a nice what looks to be, yep, okay, micro USB in case you're needing it for flashing and so forth. That looks like actually quite a quality cable. That looks quite well built. But there we go. That's what's in the box of the version 1 Bigtreetech Hermit Crab. I'm quite excited to come up with what I'm going to do with this. I am really seriously starting to lean toward using this on Frank, but because I like to experiment with extruders to try different things out, it'll be better that I can have like this with one tool head that I do my main printing on, you know, and then the one I'm testing I can put onto a tool plate and just swap them out, change my settings, off I go. So I am leaning toward Clipper for that, although I've been trying to retain at least one printer with Marlin, but just to keep my head fresh on it, because there's still people out there that use it, you know, and ultimately have questions. Anyway, I hope that helped somebody understanding what comes in the box, what you might be able to do right off the bat just by looking at the base. And I'll follow this video up in a second video with where I end up using it, and how I implemented it. So thank you for watching.